Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at BMW. When you think of premium vehicles, a few brands instantly pop into your head, right? But the story of how BMW got to that top tier, it's definitely not a straight line. It's actually this wild ride of survival, incredible engineering, and constant, almost relentless adaptation. We're going to trace their massive strategic shift, going all the way from building aircraft engines to pioneering modern electric vehicles. It's honestly a masterclass in how pivoting during a crisis can literally build an empire.
But first, we've got to bust a really common myth. For decades, people have looked at that iconic logo and thought, oh, it's a spinning airplane propeller against a blue sky. And hey, given their early history, it makes total sense. But the reality is actually much more grounded. The logo doesn't represent a propeller at all. It actually just represents the blue and white colors of the flag of the Bavaria region in Germany, proudly showing off exactly where the company was born.
Now, the ultimate driving machine. We all know it, right? It's arguably one of the most famous advertising slogans in automotive history. But to really understand how they earned the right to confidently call their cars the ultimate driving machine, we have to look at their history of dramatic reinvention. Because, spoiler alert, they weren't always focused on driving.
Here's how we're going to break this down today. We'll start with taking flight, the origins, move into shifting gears, motorcycles and cars, look at rebuilding the driving machine, expanding the luxury empire, and finally, driving the electric future.
Okay, Section 1, Taking Flight, the Origins. Let's look up at the sky to see where this all started.
So, the company was officially founded on March 7, 1916 in Munich. The name, Bayerische Motorenwerk AG, literally translates to Bavarian Motorworks in English. But here's the kicker. Despite having motor right there in the name, their initial focus was completely airborne. They weren't even thinking about roads yet.
During World War I, their one and only job was building aircraft engines. They produced them exclusively. Their entire corporate identity, their revenue, their sheer survival was entirely tied up in aviation. Their engineering DNA was literally born in the clouds. But, you know, what happens when the sky is suddenly off limits?
That brings us to Section 2, Shifting Gears, Motorcycles and Cars. Let's see how they handled a massive existential crisis.
After World War I, severe restrictions hit Germany, forcing the company to completely stop making aircraft engines. Just imagine your entire business model becoming practically illegal overnight. But instead of folding, they pivoted. First, they engineered this highly innovative boxer engine, which led to their first ever motorcycle in 1923, the hugely successful BMW R32. Then, riding that momentum, they acquired an existing car manufacturer in 1928, officially buying their way into the automobile industry.
Just look at that timeline, going from a grounded aviation firm in 1916 to launching their first automobile, the BMW 315, in 1928. That is a little over a decade. They took their world-class aviation engineering principles and just seamlessly applied them to an entirely new industry.
But, well, history has a way of throwing curveballs. Moving to Section 3, Rebuilding the Driving Machine, we see another global conflict force yet another massive pivot.
During World War II, they actually returned to their aviation roots, pivoting back to build aircraft engines and military equipment. But the aftermath was brutal. By the end of the conflict, their factories were heavily damaged or just entirely destroyed. The company was facing absolute financial ruin in a completely fractured post-war economy. They really had to start from square one.
So, how did they survive? They doubled down on quality. Through sheer resilience and an unwavering commitment to top-tier engineering and innovation, they slowly clawed their way back. By the 1960s and 70s, they completely shifted their identity, focusing heavily on sporty, luxurious vehicles. This was the golden era that gave us the legendary 3 Series, 5 Series, and 7 Series models, cementing them as a major competitor on the global stage.
Now let's fast forward a bit in Section 4, Expanding the Luxury Empire, to look at the absolute powerhouse they've become today.
Their current portfolio is massive, and it goes way beyond standard cars. You've got the core BMW brand with highly sought-after luxury sedans and SUVs like the X5. Then there's the famous M division, creating these incredible high-performance versions of standard vehicles like the M5. But they also made some genius strategic acquisitions, taking ownership of the massively popular Mini brand and the absolute pinnacle of ultra-luxury, Rolls-Royce.
And I just love this detail. Their commitment to engineering is quite literally built into their foundation.
If you look at their corporate headquarters in Munich from above, the building is architecturally designed to look exactly like a four-cylinder engine. It's such a cool visual reminder of the piston engines that saved the company back in the day.
To put their scale into perspective, they now sell their advanced mobility vehicles in more than 140 countries around the world. Think about that. A localized Bavarian aircraft engine startup that survived factory bombings and financial ruin is now selling millions of vehicles globally. Just incredible.
But you can't stay on top if you don't look ahead. Let's hit our final section, driving the electric future, and look at their latest and maybe most important pivot.
Showing that exact same adaptability they had back in 1916, they didn't wait around to be disrupted by the EV wave. They started it. They were actually one of the very first luxury manufacturers to heavily invest in electric mobility, dropping the BMW i3 way back in 2013. That early move totally paved the way for modern electric flagships like the i7 today. And they aren't stopping there. They're continuing to pour heavy investments into autonomous driving technology and sustainable transportation. So, as we watch them complete this massive strategic shift, from building aircraft engines over a century ago to pioneering sustainable autonomous vehicles today, it really makes you wonder, what will drive tomorrow? How will the ultimate driving machine reinvent itself next? It's a fascinating history of adaptation, and honestly, it gives us a brilliant lens to view the future of mobility.